friends. I'm Karen, and this is the Family Food for Moms podcast. We're talking about inspiration for family cooking and dining. I hope you're looking forward to Christmas time and a little bit of a break from normal life. This will be my last episode of the year, and then I'll take 2 weeks off, and I'll be back on the 6th of January, Monday. We'll take Christmas week and New Year's week to try and do lots of family things together and to make some special memories. We're working on our Inspiration for Cooking and Dining book, where we talk about French style eating and all the other cultures that we can learn from, and other people like Queen Elizabeth, and literature for children, and all the food lessons there are in those things. It's a book I'm very excited about, and this December we're going to do some practical application of it in our family, so we can take some photos and perfect all the recipes and activities. And I'll be very excited to get that finished and out to you guys later next year. But for today, we're going to be talking about Chinese food and dining and Chinese cooking, and what we can learn from them and be inspired by in our own homes, our own families, and our cooking. The Chinese are very good at bringing balance to their cuisine. So foods are often categorized according to their cooling or warming properties. For example, spicy or warm foods like ginger may be paired with cooling ingredients like cucumber in their food. And this is very pleasing to the palate. If you think about adding something cooling to a spicy or strongly flavored dish. Secondly, the Chinese emphasize using fresh ingredients, anything that is whole and not dried, not frozen. They like to use fresh and seasonal ingredients. In the summer, for example, they might eat cooling dishes with watermelon. In the winter, perhaps hearty, warming foods like soups or stews, using vegetables that are in season. The Chinese believe in food as medicine, and that food helps with longevity, long life. They view food as an essential element in maintaining your health. They believe that many ingredients can have medicinal properties. For example, herbs like ginseng, goji berries are used in their food not just for flavor, but for the medicinal properties that they bring to boost energy and immunity and vitality. Then they also are dependent in their cooking on having ingredients prepared and ready to go. So I like this approach, like you get everything ready, you wash everything, then you chop everything into uniform pieces. So chop all your vegetables, your onion, your ingredients, get them all ready and organize them ready to kind of dump and go as you cook. And I think that's quite a good way to do it. Then the importance of freshness and quality. I mentioned freshness. So they place great importance on fresh, high-quality ingredients, whether it's fresh vegetables, tender cuts of meat, the right kind of tofu, anything that's carefully chosen to enhance the dish. So freshness is very important. Fresh herbs and spices, not pre-ground or dried ones. And they use a lot of vegetables and a lot of variety in their vegetables, but they're not overcooked. They're not mushy and overdone. They're nice and crisp, and the color is bright, and they're just the right amount of cooking done to them. Then I would definitely say that the Chinese are good at flavor, or the art of flavor. Chinese cooking balances the 5 flavors. So there's sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and then umami, the less common one. Dishes use ingredients like soy sauce, vinegar, sugar, and spices to engage the senses. They place a strong emphasis on balancing those flavors, the sweet, the sour, the salty, the bitter, and the umami, often even in a single dish. So, for example, a stir fry might include the sweetness of the hoisin sauce. Soy sauce brings saltiness. Then there's something like rice vinegar, brings the acidity. And then the savory flavors of garlic and ginger. And they're also very good at using texture. So it won't be overcooked, as I said. It'll be crispy, but it'll also be well cooked, contrasting with the soft, tender meat and then the sauce added to that. So there'll be the crispy, the tender, the chewy elements, bringing that satisfying contrast. And they're also skilled in the art of adding seeds, like sesame seeds, to their meals. Stir frying is one of the foundational cooking methods. I'm sure you've sampled stir-fried rice, stir-fried vegetables, stir-fried chicken with good flavors like sweet and sour sauce, teriyaki, sweet chili. And then they're so good at unusual things using pastry like spring rolls and wontons, dumplings, some other names I forget, but those are so delicious. Stir frying is one of the foundational cooking methods in Chinese food, and all it requires is a hot wok and egg lifter type implement to cook the ingredients quickly but preserve their flavor and their texture. Then there is braising, steaming, slow cooking techniques are also used with Chinese cuisine. These methods allow the ingredients to tenderize and absorb deep flavors over time. So perhaps they would braise meats like pork belly or beef in a soy-based sauce, or steaming rice, dim sum. They learn patience and understand how to get it just the right amount of cooked, the right amount of texture, and the right amount of flavor. They're very good at using aromatics, garlic, ginger, spring onions, scallions in many Chinese dishes. They'll often use a flavor base to infuse oil or broth with these aromatics. One of the things I think Chinese are really brilliant at is broth. One of my favorite soups is a chicken and corn, sweet corn in broth. So good. We like to have that when we have a Chinese meal. Of course, we get it takeout, not made at home, because they do it so perfectly. And then we love things like the sweet and sour chicken or the soy chicken. So they really use oils like sesame oil and then flavored broth to enhance the flavor of a dish. Broths will be so rich in flavor, have such a depth of flavor. And when they add the broth to any other part of the meal, it really elevates it and makes it so good. They are also good at tempering the aromatics, the garlic, the ginger, the spring onions, etc., by lightly frying them before mixing them into the dish. So layering flavors through sauces is also something they're known for, using soy sauce, oyster sauce, rice wine, hoisin sauce, and more. And then they use these as the base for many dishes. And these are layered in different stages to build the richness and the depth of flavor. So learning how to use and balance these sauces is a great skill. Then, of course, rice is the staple of Chinese cuisine, often the foundation of the meal. Also, in some regions, noodles are central to the meal. So both are prepared and served in many variations. Some like the perfect steamed rice, others like the fried rice or the noodle dishes. And they don't overdo carbohydrates. They don't overdo the rice. They use it as the base, but then there's plenty of meat and broth and vegetables to balance the meal. Then they are also very good at using pickling and preserving. And these, of course, make the food so healthy. The fermented food, preserved meats, fermented sauces. So it not only adds flavor, but aids in food preservation and contributes to health. Pickled mustard greens, fermented bean pastes, these add that unique depth to the dishes and also help to preserve the seasonal ingredients. The Chinese are very good at balancing their meals by including several dishes served together. So there'll be a protein with vegetables. There could be soup with rice or noodles. There's a variety of flavors and a variety of textures and a variety of nutrients. And the fermented food helps with the absorption of those nutrients. So there's harmony in the meal. And it's not just about balancing the flavors, but it's about creating a complete, satisfying dining experience where each dish contributes and then complements the others. Also, cooking is seen as an expression of tradition and family, deeply tied to that. So many dishes would be passed down through the generations. Each family or each region would have its own twist. Recipes like dumplings, steamed buns, or a good stir fry or soup or stew shows how they value cooking not just for sustenance, but for bonding, for togetherness, and for cultural expression. The Chinese are so good at creating well-balanced, flavorful, and dynamic dishes. They're very good at knowing when something's ready, the art of timing. They're very good at contrasting and including many different flavors and using their passed down centuries-old technique and tradition in their cooking. So some of the things that I'm really trying to focus on in learning from the Chinese in my cooking, for example, a broth. I've been trying to learn how to make an Asian broth, and it involves using the right aromatics, herbs and spices, and cooking it for the right amount of time so that it's just really delicious. And then that as the base of stews and soups. Then the stir frying technique. I love this technique because it makes the food so delicious without it being overcooked. And then trying to learn how to use the different sauces to really complement the food, and not just to use all of them, but to learn what each different sauce can do for my meal. Then also the steaming. I have a rice cooker which steams the rice really nicely, and that helps. And then I've been learning how to make stir-fry rice by adding the egg at the right moment, and then deciding which vegetables I enjoy being added to that and which the kids enjoy. And then I've been trying to make sure to include fermented foods in the meal, even sometimes adding a little sauerkraut to the stir-fry, because that's what I have on hand. So I'm not being strict in trying to fit in exactly to the Chinese structure in the way they would do it, but I've been trying to learn from their methods and their concepts and their flavors, and trying to decide which are the best ones that I want to enjoy. And as I said before, it's really interesting how they layer their flavors. So if they'll maybe cook the broth with good flavor and then add the broth to the stew and add flavor to that, and then add a sauce for flavor at the end to enhance the dish. So what are your favorite things about the way the Chinese cook, and what can you include in your cooking to enhance your food? And if you were to think of a Chinese meal that you would cook from scratch, or a couple of parts of it, what would you do or be inspired by? And it's totally fine to get Chinese takeout and enjoy that. Notice the flavors of each course, and notice the textures, and notice what sauces are used, and see what you enjoy. So as I said, I'll be taking a 2-week break, and I'll see you on the 6th of January. I hope you have a wonderful, special Christmas season and time with your family. May the Lord bless you, and I'll see you then.